Imagine being the last of your kind. A world of ice stretches before you, endless white and bitter wind. Herds of mammoth no longer thunder across the plains. The fires of your people have grown cold, one after another, until only yours remains. You clutch your stone-tipped spear tightly, trudging forward across the frozen tundra, searching for food, for warmth, for hope. This was the fate of the Neanderthals. For hundreds of thousands of years, they thrived in Europe and Asia. They endured bitter cold, battled predators, and carved a place for themselves in a brutal world. And yet, in the end, they vanished. Their story is not just about extinction, but survival, legacy, and connection. Because the Neanderthals still live within us. This is the story of their last days. Long before their disappearance, Neanderthals were not weak or doomed. They were survivors, resilient, resourceful, and intelligent. For nearly 300,000 years, they roamed across a vast territory, stretching from Spain to Siberia. They lived through ice ages and warm spells, adapting to climates that would break lesser beings. Families built shelters from wood, stone, and animal hides. Fires burned bright in the dark, pushing back the cold. Children sat by their parents, watching and learning, as hands shaped stone tools, scraped hides into clothing, or prepared meat from the hunt. Their clothes were practical but ingenious, animal hides and furs stitched with sinew, draped across their bodies for warmth, with fur-lined boots tied around their feet. In some places, they even adorned themselves with beads, feathers, and pigments. They were artists, builders, hunters, and healers. They buried their dead, sometimes with flowers or antlers placed carefully beside the body. They cared for the sick and the injured. Fossils reveal Neanderthals who lived years with crippling wounds, proof that others must have tended to them, shared food, and helped them survive. These were not brutish cave dwellers. They were human, our cousins, our kin. But the world they inhabited was unforgiving. The Ice Age advanced and retreated in endless cycles. When the glaciers grew, they swallowed forests, rivers and valleys beneath walls of ice. Winters grew long and harsh, summers short and meagre. Food was never guaranteed. Great herds of mammoth, bison and reindeer sometimes vanished, migrating beyond reach. Neanderthal hunters would trek across frozen plains for days, spears in hand, tracking footprints through snowdrifts as icy winds cut across their faces. Sometimes they returned triumphant, dragging heavy loads of meat back to their camps. Other times they returned with nothing, their stomachs empty, their bodies weary, their firewood running low. Life for Neanderthals was a constant test of endurance. And if hunger and cold were not enough, the land was alive with predators. Imagine standing in the dark forest, spear ready, only to hear the growl of a saber-toothed cat. Picture a hunting party surrounding a wounded bison, only to be stalked by cave lions, waiting for their moment to strike. Even in their shelters, safety was not guaranteed. Packs of hyenas prowled the night, circling the firelight, eyes glowing, waiting for weakness. Neanderthals bore the scars of this struggle. Fossilized bones reveal shattered arms, broken skulls, deep wounds that tell of brutal encounters. Many did not survive. Yet those who did carried on, scarred but unbroken. Walking testaments to resilience. Every day was a battle, but it was a battle they knew how to fight. For thousands of years, this was their world. And then, we appeared. Homo sapiens. Modern humans. From Africa we spread, reaching into the Neanderthal lands of Europe and Asia. At first it was not war, but it was competition, where Neanderthals hunted with thrusting spears. Modern humans used lighter weapons, designed to throw from a distance. Where Neanderthals lived in small groups, humans gathered in larger bands, sharing ideas, strategies, and stories. Humans painted vivid images on cave walls. Horses, bison, handprints left behind, like signatures across time. And when food grew scarce, when the cold grew bitter, these differences mattered. The two species met, and sometimes mingled. We know now that they interbred. Every person of non-African descent carries fragments of Neanderthal DNA in their bodies, living echoes of ancient unions. But if there was connection, there was also rivalry. To the Neanderthals, modern humans were not just neighbours. They were competitors for the same land, the same prey, the same survival. And little by little, the balance shifted. The Neanderthals were never vast in number. Even at their peak, they may have only numbered in the tens of thousands, scattered in small family groups across continents. Against the growing tide of Homo sapiens, they dwindled. New diseases may have struck them, illnesses carried by our ancestors that their immune systems had never faced. Their hunting grounds shrank, their shelters emptied. Camps that once rang with the sound of laughter and work fell silent, fires extinguished, one by one. Some may have joined with Homo sapiens, absorbed into a new people. Others clung to their traditions, holding on as the world around them changed. But the end was closing in. Somewhere, perhaps in a cave deep in Spain, or on the wind-swept plains of Eastern Europe, the last Neanderthal lived. We cannot know their name. We cannot know their thoughts. But we can imagine. A lone figure walking across the tundra. Boots of hide bound to their feet, furs pulled tight against the wind. A spear grasped in calloused hands. Each step heavy. Each breath a struggle. Behind them lies a world that no longer exists. Ahead, a future in which they have no place. And then silence. With the death of that final Neanderthal, an entire species disappeared. The end of a people. The end of an age. But extinction is not the same as erasure. Neanderthals live on, in us. Their DNA shapes who we are. The texture of our hair, the color of our skin, even the way our immune systems fight disease. In this way, their blood still flows, their legacy enduring across time. And their story is written into our humanity. They laughed, they loved, they struggled, they dreamed. They were not failures, not some evolutionary mistake. They were survivors who endured for hundreds of thousands of years in a world that would have destroyed most. When we look into the fire, when we cherish our bonds, when we dream of a future, we are carrying forward something they too once carried. The Neanderthals were not forgotten. In the stars they gazed upon, in the fires they kindled, in the children they raised, something of them remains within us. To understand their lives is to understand ourselves, because they were never truly gone. In every step we take, in every dream we pursue, in every fire that burns in the night, the Neanderthals still walk beside us,